r/AskReddit. Teachers of Reddit. Have you ever had a crush on a student? What happened? He didn't hit on me until after I graduated. He was my school cop and taught the law enforcement class. Nearly my dad's age. And married. He is super attractive though. I would have gone to Pound Town if he didn't have a wife. Edit. Obligatory thank you to the kind stranger for the gold. This really blew up. I think because of my choice of verbiage. Everyone who has been to Pound Town. I love you. My most upvoted comment is about my high school cop wanting to duck me. Not bad. Upvote for Pound Town. No. That was his jurisdiction. He was an officer with the Pound Town Police Department. PTPD. Of Pound Town, Nebraska. This was back in the late 70s. But my so's aunt started teaching high school right after college. She was 21. Her first year on the job she developed a crush on this high school junior. He was 17 at the time. Anyway, they flirted and hung out after school all the time, and once he turned 18 they started dating. They are now married and have been for 40+ years. They think the story is adorable and tell everyone. As a former teaching, I cringe every time I hear it. You are a teaching. He didn't say he was an English teacher. I had a teacher that ended up hooking up with a student. Like days after graduation. I don't think he teaches anymore. I also had a student teacher invite me to a party when I was in high school. That was a nice ego booster. The professors would go to the parties. Oh yeah. They were always the most fun. God damn it, what the duck is this from? I know this. I'm a teacher and there are some cute seniors that I have as students. However, if you ever find yourself actually attracted to any of them, a great way to get over that is to just talk with them for a few minutes. That works regardless of age. This explains why I had so many crushes. I barely spoke at all during school. I had the situation in reverse. The student had a huge crush on me. She arranged her classes, free time and extra projects so that we'd always be in the same area or room. As cute as she was, I was consistently careful and professional in my approach, keeping her at arm's length and showing her no more attention than other students. She was tenacious. But rather than embarrass her in front of peers or faculty, I took the long approach, wearing her down incrementally by maintaining appropriate even-handedness despite her overt gestures and expressions. Eventually, it worked. It was taxing for me, but I took satisfaction knowing that I didn't cause her to become the subject of gossip or mean-spirited speculation. Did you tell her not to stand so close to you? In a super catchy tune? I wouldn't say that I ever had a crush, but there are definitely girls that are really attractive and likable. I had a lot of girls, and even a few boys who seemed to have crushes on me, but it doesn't go anywhere, because I wouldn't cross that line. I had one girl walk up to me and say, "I'ma holler at you at the end of the year," and then proceed to bite her lip in a very suggestive way. I didn't even know who the hell that girl was. I had another girl who I absolutely adored come see me on the last day I was leaving the school, but she was not in dress code at all. She was wearing two thin tank tops and the tiniest shorts I've ever seen. It was definitely not dress code approved, but since it was the last day she got away with it. She kept hugging me goodbye and hanging all over me, and I have to admit that I was getting a bit turned on by it. She actually followed me out to my car to say goodbye. And when we parted for the last time, there was this agonizing moment of awkwardness where it seemed like she was waiting for me to give her a kiss or something. One time in the cafeteria, after I had just started teaching, I saw this beautiful teacher wearing a tight-fitting wrap dress watching over the lunch line. She looked absolutely poured into that dress. So I had to go talk to her. I went up, introduced myself, and we started talking. We flirted a bit while we talked. And things seemed to be going good, because she initiated an arm squeeze on me when I made a joke. We parted after a little bit, and she walked off and sat down at one of the tables with the students. I thought to myself, that's cool. She eats with her students. I'm doing my lunch duty thing, which largely involves standing around. And every once in a while I look over at the hot teacher and we exchange glances and smiles. At this point I figure that I need to find out where her room is so I can drop by later and talk her up some more. I figure I can just tell her I'm going to make copies and see if she needs anything run off while I'm at it. I'm in the middle of talking with one of my students. So I ask them, what does that lady over there in the dress teach and where is her room at? My student simply replies back, she's in my French class. But I don't know her. At that point it clicks in my head that she's a student. And worse, that I've been flirting with a student throughout lunch. Mortified, I fled the cafeteria and hid in my room. I had another lunch duty the next day, but I couldn't even bring myself to go to it because I was so embarrassed. I'm dying to know what you look like because you must be hot. She looked absolutely poured into that dress. So I had to go talk to her. I went up, introduced myself and we started talking. Things seemed to be going good because she initiated an arm squeeze on me when I made a joke. I wish I could have this level of confidence. Edit. I have received hundreds of replies and messages giving me tips on how to talk to women. I get it. Please stop. Nice try FBI. Not today. They would never do such a thing. Wait a minute. When I graduated high school, I was approached by my English teacher who I had a student/mentor relationship with. Basically he told me that he and his wife had an open relationship, and if I would be interested in dating him. He had asked his wife, and she was cool about it and everything. It was super weird, and I basically ghosted him. He still sends me these super drawn out emails every now and then. Edit. My teacher was not inviting me to join in a three-way. By saying they had an open relationship, I meant that his wife was allowed to see other men, and he was allowed to see other women. The extramarital relationships were kept separate. Also, insecure 18-year-old me wouldn't have been down for a three-way anyways. Edit 2 full story from the comments. When I was a junior my mother was running away from an abusive relationship. She basically just packed up whatever we could fit in her car and we moved overnight to the neighboring state. I had to leave school in the middle of the year, so it was a rough transition for me. I didn't really fit in with the people at my new school, so I mostly hung out with teachers during lunch. It was a really small inner city high school and most of the teachers were very passionate and invested in the students. So it wasn't uncommon to have close mentor-like relationships develop. I ended up getting pretty close to my English teacher over the next 2 years. But I always felt like we kept things appropriate. After I graduated, I met up with him as a sort of final goodbye before leaving to college. It was just a confusing and surreal conversation where he basically told me that he didn't want what we had to die out and that he would like to keep seeing each other after graduation. He talked about it as being an enriching experience for the both of us and so on. He and his wife had plans to quit their jobs and leave the country for a few years. So I think he wanted our relationship to be a summer fling type of thing. He told me that he and his wife had an open relationship because they often travel the world and meet all kinds of interesting people. As for if considered going back and giving it a go, I really was torn about that for a long time. He really did live an avant-garde, bohemian sort of lifestyle, and I wondered whether I was missing out on some enriching and unique life experience. Like I said previously, I didn't know how to react, so when I ghosted him, he started sending me all kinds of emails. At first, he was really understanding and would talk about how he would wait and let me process some stuff. Then he started to get kind of passive aggressive and sent stuff like, "Let me know when your therapist says it's okay to meet." Finally, he sent me this really long poem he wrote for me about an archer watching a beautiful lark/woman from a distance and how she was finally set free. I blocked him after that. And last I heard he's already left the country. Sorry for the wall of text. It was just the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me. This one's really creepy. It felt super surreal at the time. Of course, being a teenage girl I had thought about it before, but when the opportunity arose for something to actually happen between us, I completely panicked, and that's when I ghosted him. I saw him the following year at my sister's graduation and it still felt surreal. Luckily, he isn't teaching anymore. If anyone is interested, I'd be happy to give more details. I've only ever told very close friends about it before, so this is kind of cathartic. Not me, but a friend of mine is a teacher for high schoolers. When he started, he was only 3 or 4 years older than the seniors, 17, 18 years, so he said it was really awkward having thoughts where a student was attractive because he was a teacher now. He also told me that he often got gifts and love notes from students back then too. Edit, typo. Got it guys. My freshman year of high school I was about approximately a year older than most everyone else in my grade, and we got a teacher fresh from college who just turned 21. It was really strange having an educator that had such a small gap in age with us all. She constantly got hit on by a lot of the guys, whether out loud in comments or through lines in essays or other projects. Even the girls in my app class were pressuring her about needing to get pregnant. She got married while in college, so it wasn't like they were talking about having her hook up. Still awkward. Wound up having her for 3 years in a row, freshman, sophomore and junior years, and it drove me freaking crazy. She had no command of the classroom and let us all run over her. I sat back one day and counted how many times she asked/said nkaj. And it was over 3 dozen times. From then on I never heard anything else she said in lectures apart from that single word. I only caught onto the mannerism when I started watching South Park. It was hilarious at first. It got worse every consecutive year. Edit, timely subject. Just seen a link on Facebook where a teacher, same school I graduated from, was booked earlier this week on a $10,000 bond for Excel misconduct with a student. I actually had classes with that teacher while she was a student. I mean, this reminds me of an English teacher I had as a freshman. She was super hot and all the guys knew it. I decided I would be funny and turn in my essay with "you're hot" printed between lines in the tiniest font possible in Word. You could read it if you had a magnifying glass. I look back on it and just cringe. I really embarrassed myself that day, although I never heard anything from it. Edit, well this turned into my highest rated comment. Interesting. I'm a female teacher. I have been teaching for less than 10 years. I have had 2 students who, I can't say I've crushed on them. I've certainly been attracted to them. Both were in my first few years of teaching. The students were 17, 18, and the attraction to them came from absolutely nowhere. It was like being smacked in the head with a bat both times. They were both very tall, intelligent, goofy, cuddly looking gingers. I have a thing. One made a pass at me during graduation about 6 years ago. He followed me to my classroom during the ceremony when I left to change my shoes, but I firmly and politely declined and got the hell out of there. Nothing Excel or untoward ever happened. And nothing ever would, because my career means a lot to me. I hear the guy who made a pass on me is now a police officer. I can't say I haven't had thoughts about him pulling me over. A hot, fit guy in uniform? Mercy. AI. It's me. A tall, goofy, ginger. Edit. Heh. Thanks Reddit. My most upvoted comment of all time is a pervy joke in a thread about teachers being into their students. Mama's gonna be so proud. Did you miss the intelligent part? I've crushed a student. It was awful. Like splat? I don't want to talk about it. One time at junior high there was a football game that was students versus teachers and a student crushed a teacher and cracked his ribs. This is the kind of content that I came to this thread for. Honestly, yes. I've been a university lecturer since I was 25. All of my students are adults. Mostly in the 18-22 range, but often a little older than that. I'm a single man. The little crushes and attractions happen from time to time. Nothing has ever come of it directly, because I'm absolutely committed to the principle of not taking advantage of my position. Whether they're 18, 45, or anywhere in between, they are a person placed under my stewardship and care. And I have a responsibility and a duty to respect that which I absolutely will not breach. I have, however, had a brief relationship with a student who had no connection to the courses I teach. We didn't meet at the university either. We met at a party with mutual friends. She just happened to be an undergraduate at the same institution where I'm employed. I didn't see any conflict of interest. And it didn't breach any regulations. I did check. Morally speaking, I don't think I have any questions to answer there. University lecturer since 25. Are you like super smart or something? I would assume you got your PhD at 24. Could have a master's and teach while in the grad program. I started teaching at 26 as an adjunct. Nope. I'm a perfectly ethical person who does perfectly ethical things. My thoughts are always professional. I'm not just saying this because I'm afraid my account is being watched. America is the best. Yay Eagles. Yay Eagles, haha.